I remember something like that in the Bible. But if after seeing us as long as they have, they still believe that we're gods, it wasn't for me to underreceive them. In other words, it's interesting that he worked that into. Then this was 1888, by the way. He's working that into the story about men who portray themselves as gods, and about daughters of men marrying gods or devils. And yeah, I think I remember something in the Bible about that. And so this was a Freemason tale where he worked that in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for a second I thought you were bringing up the reference to Huckleberry Finn with the two guys who think they're like, or who lie to the two Huckleberry and Jim on the raft, saying that they're kings or something.
This episode is brought to you by Airbnb. Millions of people around the world are hosting on Airbnb. They're earning extra income on the side. And for lots of people, it's something they only do when they're on a trip. Think about it. Hosting on Airbnb can help you contribute to a retirement fund every month, or help you put something away towards your kids' college fund. But you might also be worried about your stuff, like that fancy espresso machine, or your new bike. Well, if you want to know how all those other hosts welcome guests into their home without worrying, here's how. Air Cover for Hosts. It gives you $1 million in damage protection anytime you're hosting, plus pet damage protection and income loss protection. And it's free every time you host on Airbnb. When you have Air Cover, the benefits really add up. Learn more and try hosting at airbnb.com/aircover for hosts.
And again, I want to make it it's very important to keep stating, don't separate this issue from technology. It's very important not to separate it. It's just like how we see all these movies and video games and whatnot, and we separate them from the spiritual realm. It always has to be included, because that's where it's going. Okay? When you have men, grown men too, okay, from 25 and up, dating their phone. I don't mean in a hyperbolic sense. They have apps that they have these AI dating apps, and these men are taking this AI who loves 1,000 other people to dinner. Okay? We have the sex robots that are in high production at this point, right, around the world. And many people that don't want to believe this, you can find it in less than 2 seconds, okay? So that's another aspect right there. And again, this is a constant theme with the robots, humanizing the robots and dehumanizing humanity, right?
Right. Didn't Epstein put money into the creation of that female robot? I forgot what her name was. Sophia, yeah. I think he's either financed that guy who did it. Gertzel, I think, was his name. He was on Joe Rogan's show. And I think that's all relevant, you know?
Yeah, and Epstein wanted to he was into transhumanism, and he wanted...
he was going to have some kind of breeding center or something like that, yeah.
Right, with his own sperm. So, you know, I think where we're having a lot of issues is a clash with biblical narrative that people are doing, and then they have the clash with the mythology, and so we have a convoluted issue that has to be straightened out somehow. And I don't think it's ever going to get straightened out because it's gone far right now. But if we keep it with good research and actual evidence, not presupposition, because the worst thing we could do is say, for instance, if we are not translating, but interpreting the Bible, and then we bring a bunch of presuppositions into it. Like, for instance, this is my thoughts. The rapture is imminent, right? If the rapture is imminent, there's nothing that causes it. But when the rapture happens, it would cause other events. What I'm trying to say is, say the end of the church age doesn't cause the rapture. The rapture is the cause for the end of the church age. Totally two different things there, right? So we bring all these presuppositions in. Like, say, for instance, oh, well, if America is overtaken by communism, here comes the rapture. Well, really? I don't see that in Scripture. Because it's imminent, right? So if we start to let loose some of these presuppositions and just do good research, we'll come out with better stories to tell people that are accurate.
Right. Good point. Yes. You can not talk about the Nephilim as much. Something else.
Yeah.
And this really revolves around the issues of what is variously known as transhumanism, which I constantly point out, inevitably combines high-tech evolution and the occult. And incidentally, the issue of quote-unquote aliens, it's the same thing.
Right.
High-tech evolution and the occult. It's all part of the same thing. Ultimately, it seems to come down to a deconstruction of God's created order. And so that if humanity is the pinnacle of God's creation, then that's the biggest target. So in our rebellion, us as fallen beings, and in the rebellion of paranormal fallen beings, such as demons, we would be the biggest target. And we're to the point where we're not just deconstructing philosophy, we're deconstructing reality to the point of claiming that the universe is illusion. And now we're deconstructing ourselves and each other through these new technologies where we can have little children not grow up to be what they were meant to be, but something different, because we're able to pump them full of pseudoestrogen or testosterone and various other drugs. And so this is where this kind of concept of mating with other than human beings comes in, because the results would be something non-human, not 100% human. And so when you look at paganism, for example, it eventually always inevitably comes down to sex and blood.
See, there we go.
And the whole thing is about sex.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it ties right into this picture. There's there's Lavenda with Podesta and the blood drinker right there, the occultist, and then the UFO promoter right here on the left along. I just came across this again. This is actually an incredible picture.
I mean, so basically, transhumanism, the issue with aliens, the issue with demons, all of it comes down to deconstructing humanity. In one way or another, for one reason or another, willingly or unwillingly, consciously or unconsciously, it doesn't matter. It all comes down to deconstruction and deconstructing God's created order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it goes back to our last program about the hybridization of humanity, right?
Right, CRISPR, right.
I was just thinking about your video today.
Oh,
I think it's the only rap video I've ever seen that has like footnotes on the screen, which was awesome. I mean, there's like the definitions and everything. Just it's so educational.
Yeah, they're actually reminding me of an old rap song that I listened to. I don't know if you're familiar with Bill Laswell and all the stuff that he's in. There was a band called Material that he was a part of, and there was a rap video, or not video, but a song that he did with Cool Keith on this Enton. I can't pronounce the album's name. It's weird.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny because it seems like it's predicting things going on now, like talking points, like in specifically the Soy Boy meme. If you've seen that one, it's kind of weird that song seemed to be talking about it in the 90s.
Well, you see, again, we're in this age of information where things are exploding. We're learning more. I have thousands of books on my computer. I couldn't hold that in my house if I tried, right? So a lot of things that not you, but like the whole of humanity thought were hidden were actually there. And so when you get into the realm of rap and some of the weird rock artists or whoever they are, doesn't have to be rock or rap, other stuff too. Including even classical music, you'll find some weird stuff, right? So, like say, for instance, in the Nation of Islam, they believe in a mothership, and the mothership was here, and it was made this way and that way, and it left, and it's going to come back. Well, really? Islam? That's in Islam? We wouldn't think that.
I don't think a true Islamist would agree with that. A true Islamist would not think that's Islam.
That's the Nation of Islam.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, right. So there,
the mother plane.
Yes, absolutely, the mother plane, right?
Yeah, wasn't it on the Isle of Patmos too? Wasn't it where the Book of Revelation came from? I forgot.
Yeah.
And incidentally, it all revolved around the quote-unquote big head scientist.
Absolutely. There we go. Yaqub or something like that, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gets into racism and all this other stuff, right? So we wouldn't, because we don't study that, we wouldn't think that issue would even be there. I found that out about, I guess, 4 years ago when I was doing all this alien research. I'm like, what? They believe this too? So, you'll be surprised at the things that were in songs in the 90s and the 80s, especially when you go back to groups like Earth, Wind, and Fire, Atlantic Star, those type of groups. They talk about all this weird stuff we talk about today.
It's kind of weird because the thing I've always gleaned from, especially looking into Williams' stuff about Crowley and then other people who go into, exposing the Theosophists, is this stuff like always has like a firm holding of like the literary circles and the artistic circles, specifically like, of the aristocratic people and, like days gone by. And it's like they devoted so much time to like putting all that into the culture. And like right now it is kind of, trickled down to, where everyone has access to it, which is a bad thing. But it's just kind of funny to see how, the devil has been working that way the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another point is this, this is our lifespan here, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years, however long each individual lives, right? So we're no matter how old we get and we die, we're still babies, according to the history of this world. And these demons are having fun with us, right? Because we think we know it all and whatnot, then we find out that we don't, right? Say, for instance, people don't believe that the Black Lives Matter movement is full of witchcraft. The Yoruba religion is being practiced within that movement, and I found a parallel to that Yoruba religion, which is an African religion, for those people that don't know, in the show, oh my gosh, sorry, drawing a blank here, Lovecraft Country. Lovecraft Country.
Oh, heck, that,
right? So
don't get me started.
Yeah. So it's all ancestor worship and calling up the spirits of, say, George Floyd or whoever, right? When they chant their names, but most people don't know that. Yeah, right? And you go to Lovecraft Country and there's a scene in this house and here comes, say the name, say the name, say. I'm like, oh, snap. Let me go study this some more, But most people don't believe because they're missing the information. And that's information. That is the most valuable commodity on this planet. Not gold, not silver, no minerals. Information. Because the people with the most information get to control the narrative, right?
Right.
Or add to the narrative. So
haven't all through time people with informational monopolies have maintained control, whether it's a priesthood, a cult priesthood, or a pagan priesthood, or the Catholics, or whatever?
Right. And they use it for control, right? So let's say, for instance, I want to put forth a narrative that aliens seeded the planet, and I could bring you proof of that, and then lead you towards somewhere where you can start accepting this and waiting for these individuals. Well, where do we see that? Ancient aliens, the Catholic Church, and you know. Heaven's Gate,
people. Right? Heaven's Gate.
I mean,
Marshall Applewhite, or Applewhite was his name?
Yes, Applewhite.
Yeah. So
now
go ahead.
I was just going to throw out regarding pop culture in 1976, the Carpenters, no less, put out a song titled "Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft." And here's some of the lyrics. In your mind, you have capacities, to telepath messages through the vast unknown. Please close your eyes and concentrate with every thought you think upon the recitation we're about to sing. And then they sing, calling occupants of interplanetary craft. I mean, that was, they wrote that in relation to.
Imagine a school where educators have tools to inspire, protect, and engage, whether they're teaching in person or online. Meet GoGuardian, a powerful system of learning solutions for today's classrooms. Learn more at GoGuardian.com.
world contact.